Today we're going to be mixing together Arctic Fox's Sunset Orange with their Ritual. This is a voted on mix by you guys, and I'm really excited that you guys chose this mix because I think it'll turn out very fall vibes, which is perfect timing. Whenever I do these mixes, I always do a poll beforehand, so keep your eyes open for that if you're wanting to ever participate. So I have my swatches labeled 1 through 12, but that's not synonymous with hair levels. I do pictures, clips near the end of the video, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. These are human hair swatches, but the only one that is virgin hair is the number 4 black swatch. The rest have been chemically colored or bleached at some point in their existence. Number 1 is green. Since we're doing like an orangey red, I wanted to see how well this would cover. 2 is gray. 3 is a natural red. Obviously 4 is black. And then from 4 to 11 is a range that goes to platinum blonde. And then 12 is like a really toned version of number 11. So with my mix videos, I like to do 2 different ratios to see the range that we can get. So we're going to start with equal parts on the top. So it's 1 part Ritual and 1 part Sunset Orange. Please keep in mind everyone's hair does take color differently. Also, different monitors and screens can make colors look a little different. So please just use my video as a reference for how this could possibly turn out for you. For the second ratio, we're going to do a 1 to 4, so it's going to be 1 part Ritual to 4 parts Sunset Orange. So I was asking you guys for different ideas for little videos I can do as extra here and there, and someone requested that I dilute some of my Arctic Fox mixes, so if anyone is also interested in that and has a particular one that you'd like to see diluted, feel free to let me know. I believe the one I got requested to do was Poseidon and Purple Rain. So if you want to add on to that or add any, I do have a link below to a Google form or comments work as well. All right, I'm gonna let these sit for about 3 hours. I will then rinse them out, and when they're dry, I'll meet you back here and we'll do some comparisons. So I'm sure you can see this looks like it's pretty pigmented because the only one that doesn't look like there's a difference is the number 4 black swatch. Every other swatch has been affected by this dye, which is great, but I will warn anyone who has virgin hair that semi-permanent dyes don't always stick in the hair for very long. So if you like this mix, it may cover, but it may not be very long lasting. So the number 1 swatch was originally green, and it actually looks like the most natural outcome out of all of them. I'm assuming that's because of the green in the hair. Red and green are across from each other on the color wheel, so they tend to cancel each other out, which leaves a slightly more brown red, and I think it's very beautiful. Honestly, number 2 almost looks a little bit natural as well. Not quite as natural leaning as the green swatch was, slightly more red looking, but it's not quite as saturated looking as maybe the blonde swatches are. Number 3 originally was the natural red. It definitely does look more red, but kind of like the browner swatches, because the base underneath was kind of dark, it doesn't look like a super bright red, therefore almost giving it a natural look, but it definitely heightened the red colors in the hair for sure. 5 is the only one that looks straight up brown. There's definitely a red undertone there, but it doesn't look like red hair necessarily. And then 6 and onward is where we kind of get the red hair look. Now I'm assuming this happened because of it being human hair and, you know, everyone's hair takes dye differently, but for some reason the top mixture, the equal parts, looks a little bit lighter on 6 and 8 versus number 7. It turned out very dark, and then 9, 10, 11, and 12 also look very dark. So if you have medium brown, light brown hair, the depth of the color may vary on you. So if you needed a reminder, this is Sunset Orange on platinum blonde hair. That is a very, very bright orange, but it's not quite neon. I would say it's a true orange. It might lean a tad red, but it's so bright that you don't really see a bunch of red coming through. And then this is Ritual on a platinum blonde swatch. On my swatch, it turned out a little bit more purple than I originally thought it would. I thought Ritual was going to be a slightly bit more red. Also, if you're wondering, I used to do 2 separate diluted parts. So this is diluted and then this is diluted more for both of those, which is why it looks like that. And it's almost crazy to see just how different the mixture outcome looks, but it's quite pretty. I've done a handful of reds on my channel, but most of them are a little bit more bright and saturated. I haven't done that many that are slightly more muted like this one. So I'll just show my 2 most similar that I can find. First one being Lunar Tides in the color Blood Moon. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. So realistically, you can see the difference. I'm sure the mixture almost has a slightly muted quality to it. Out of all of my like reds, Blood Moon was the least bright one out of all of them. I usually like to have at least 2 comparisons if possible. And even though these aren't really all that similar, you can at least see now, if you couldn't see before, that this mix isn't a super bright saturated mix. And it might be good for someone who's looking for a slightly natural, fun color. My next comparison should actually be a little bit more similar, and it's going to be from the brand Uberliss in the color Madame Mahogany. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. Now, I wouldn't say that these are dupes for each other necessarily, but they're not so far off to where if you didn't want to buy 2 dyes to mix together, this Uberliss one might be a good replacement. Just by looking at it, the Uberliss definitely runs a lot darker on the top. Obviously, you can dilute it, but when you dilute it, you get a slightly more berry red. It's still very red, don't get me wrong, but in comparison to how slightly orangey this bottom part looks, this just looks a hair more pinky. Undertone wise, I feel like it's more similar to the top with more Ritual, which makes sense. So if you like the Arctic Fox mix, you could even do this ratio and then just add in some diluter as well. And as always, I will link the videos down below for each dye that I show in here as well. So now I'd like to get into my before and after clips. Those, as well as anything you see near the end of the video, will all be done in natural lighting. I hope this video helped. If you have a request, like you want me to start doing videos where I dilute previous mixes, feel free to request that in my Google form that I have linked below. Thank you so much to my patrons, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.